Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer Robinson-Romkey, and I help busy professional women create a life they love by investing in themselves through a simple daily practice of self-care and self-love. And why does that matter? Because how we live our days is ultimately how we live our lives. So are you ready to get started? Let's do this.
Woohoo! I am here with Danny. I'm so excited to be here with Danny. Now look at her gorgeous curls. That's what we're here for. We're going to talk about curly hair. And I am so excited to have you here, Danny. Danny is actually, well, funny. Danny and I have been part of an accountability group for, gosh, it's over a year now. And that's how we actually met. We do our run together, but as well, Danny has a whole life around her, which is incredible. She's got a handsome husband, two absolutely beautiful kids that I get to see every now and then pop with the camera. COVID's been great for kids at home and all that great stuff. And she's an entrepreneur, a teacher, and I don't know, she does retreats. She is like, I don't know, like incredible talking about meditation and so many fantastic things that I know a lot of people in this group are interested in as well. But I know I've been talking to a few people about curly hair and the struggles and keeping it real, right? COVID has definitely brought the attention back to self-care, loving ourselves, let's say honoring whatever it is nature has given us kind of thing, right? If our hair's straight or curly or whatever, but keeping it simple. So that's kind of what today's going to be about. We're going to try and help people with curly hair, or even other people might find some interest in some of the content here, but definitely people with curly hair that are trying to figure things out of like, okay, they say this can be simple, right? But let's figure out how do we do that together. So welcome, Danny.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Jen. I actually was like, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll share a little like tidbit of my story. So
yeah,
I started my curly girl journey, gosh, 3 years ago, maybe 4, around that. And it was just like I was coming back from my second mat leave, and I was just tired of trying to like take all of this time to doll myself up or just look whatever presentable at work, and try to style my hair and all that sort of stuff and have the kids and get all that stuff ready. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to try to go on this journey. And I wanted to like honor what my true, like how I was designed, essentially like how God made me. And so I started on this journey and realized I didn't think I was doing things as, I don't want to say wrong, but I learned a lot. Let's just say that it was like such an epiphany. So I'm like really excited to share this stuff with you guys, because most of the tips are like super simple and really easy and really accessible. And it's just, but they can make all of the difference. So
yeah. You mentioned a book, The Curly Girl. Where can somebody find a book like that? Like, because I've never seen anything like that. I'm sure like any bookstore. But what's it called?
So it's called The Curly Girl Method.
Okay.
And it's not just for women, it's for like anyone with curly hair. But like this book is like this thick. Like you could never.
There's a lot of different types of curly hair, I would suspect, right?
Yeah. And so the woman, I can't remember what her name is right now, but she was kind of like at the forefront of this big, like curly hair. I feel like it's like been like a revolution over the past little while.
Well, I think a lot of people have been fighting their hair.
Yeah.
Right. Because again, hairdressing, we were just talking a few minutes ago about hairdressers and stuff. And you were talking about how, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but like, what you have to go through to get your hair cut versus like, generally speaking, the majority of hairdressers, and when I mean majority, I mean probably a very like heavy majority, wouldn't have two sweet clues about what you talked about of how to do that and to truly honor the curl. So I can only imagine like it's a struggle, because people go to the hairdresser, they think, well, I'm going to a professional. Doesn't mean that professional is set up for your hair type. It doesn't matter what the profession is, right? They're specialists, let's just say. And that can make all the difference.
And it said that actually 60% of people would fall under the curly hair category. So
wow,
we don't actually consider, because even if you have a wave to your hair, you should treat it like curly hair. And there's different levels depending on how much curl you have, of how, like, for example, how often you wash, and you can get really, really deep into it. I'm kind of in the middle ground. But if you have a wave to your hair, even just a small wave, I recommend sticking around and listening to these tips. And it's great for if you have kids with wave or curl, it will make your life a lot easier.
Well, it's funny that you say that too. I've got a niece and she has beautiful long hair. There's definitely wave in there. Yeah. And putting a brush through her hair is like the biggest nightmare. I mean, she doesn't want to say, it's created a historical story for her, right? You start a narrative of like, it hurts when people do anything with my hair or, whatever. So it's like it becomes a big deal. And dealing with kids for sure. I mean, this would be, oh my gosh. So I'm so excited because I have a little wave and I know I've been on before with Danny and we'll be on the accountability thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I look like a disaster this morning. And talking about my hair, this is kind of how this conversation came up because through COVID, you're like, what am I doing with this hair? I haven't been to a hairdresser forever and, whatever, and putting my hair up. And you had said to me one day, no, you do have curly hair. Yeah. I'm like, I don't identify with curly hair. I have never identified with curly hair. As a kid, I think my hair was pretty bone straight. Yeah. Mom would put curlers in or, you'd have a perm or, whatever, but I never really had real wave to my hair per se. Or if I did, it would be so almost non-existent. But as I've aged, my hair has changed. So it definitely, there's a different texture to it. And if I let it dry by itself, my hair's curly. So I guess there's the answer. Now, curly or wavy, I don't know what that is because I was looking at the types and I'm like, I can imagine why the book is so thick because it goes from 1S, 2S, 3S, and 4S, a straight, wavy, curly, coily, and then they have all these subclassifications. And I'm like, holy smokes, who knew? Yeah. Anyway, I'll be quiet now. You talk about, so you figured out your hair. We're not necessarily going to talk about everybody's hair because Danny doesn't know everybody's hair, but she's gone through a journey of her own. And walk us through that a little bit, Danny, of how it started in the beginning. Did you end up, once you figured out kind of what your hair was like, where did you go next? Did you go to a hairdresser first? Did you start playing with products? What did you do?
Yeah, so, and the stuff that I'm going to share, it will work for most people because there are kind of general rules for curly hair that will work for anyone. And one thing that I wanted to mention too is if you have a wave like you where you feel like it's not curly, you also need to know that once you start following this method, you will get more curl to your hair because it will start to revert back to like what it's naturally supposed to do. I have pictures of myself 4 years ago and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like embarrassed that I used to wear my hair like that because it was like a scraggle curl. And I'm like, I can't believe how much my hair has changed. But how I started, so the number one thing that anyone can do is change how you dry your hair. So the first thing that I changed was I started using a t-shirt. So we were talking about this. So I started using a t-shirt to dry my hair. But you're actually not really supposed to dry your hair that much when it's curly. You're supposed to let it dry naturally as much as possible. So it's more of doing maybe a little bit of a dab like this. Like right now I've now graduated to a microfiber towel. So I have this microfiber towel from Diva Curl. And I literally will take my hair and just gently crunch it after it's soaked. And the other thing that I had changed kind of simultaneously was I started to put product in my hair when it was soaking wet.
So talk me through that, Danny. So first of all, when you towel drying your hair, I think it is important to recognize you're not dripping, but you're wet.
So when you are putting product in your hair, it should be so wet that when you put product in, you should hear that squishy sound. Like it should be like
literally water in your hair. Yes. Okay.
Like I literally get out of my shower and I lean over into my shower and immediately I put my towel around, immediately flip my hair and put product in. So I have my product like in my shower.
Okay.
So I like put all the product in and then I'll just gently do that little bit of drying. So I'm not walking around my house when it's like sopping wet. Some people do that. Some people will just wear their towel and walk around with it sopping wet because the wetter it is and the more you can not disturb it from that, like really from its natural state, right?
I can just see what you're doing is, again, you're slowing the drying time. If you slow the drying time, right, by leaving more water, having the product in there too, then I could see how that could honor the curl better than, you know, like, I mean, you're
not disrupting it. Yeah.
frizzing and wrecking your hair. I mean, you know how some people just literally put a towel in and it's just like raking through your hair. You're like, oh my God, your hair's half dry by the time you've taken a big terry towel, you know what I mean? And rubbed through your hair. It's already half dry.
And the biggest thing with that too is that the more you leave it, the less frizz you'll have. So when you see these people with this gorgeous, luscious hair, these curls with no frizz, is because they're using good products and they're not disturbing it while it's drying.
Leaving it alone.
Yeah. So like another thing I would recommend is avoiding heat as much as possible. So I used to diffuse my hair almost every day. I used to straighten it. I used to like blow dry, straighten it and all that sort of stuff. And so removing that heat, because heat dries your hair out, and you need moisture. Curls need moisture. So the more moisture you can have in your hair, the better for your curls. So just
okay, so that matters too then, what kind of shampoos and conditioners and stuff that you're using. So well, that's good to know, because again, you know, I know Arbonne shampoos are different than some, right? I mean, not having those artificial foam boosters and stuff like that, which is salt, which dries your hair out too. It's important to use good products. Again, if you use good products, you probably need less of them and you get better results. It's kind of a no-brainer.
Oh yeah, like you have to work within your limitations, right? Or within what's possible for you. But like the products make a huge difference. Like avoiding, obviously, sodium lauryl sulfate, you want to avoid anyways, just for like the danger of it. But silicones, like you definitely want to avoid silicones. It's just fake
That's
hydration.
the problem with a lot of drying shampoos, right? You don't even realize they're drying, but they're drying your hair. And that's why they get such waxy crap in the conditioners that people don't realize. Like your hair, maybe after you go see a hairdresser, your hair's good for a couple, and then it just keeps getting more weighted down, and you just
so heavy. You don't want that. With
those conditioners are terrible. Like
that's how you end up with triangle hair with curls. It's like it's all.
And you might see that in a fashion magazine for like, I don't know, a joke. But yeah, it's not really the look most people are going for every day.
Yeah, so the product is really important. I absolutely love the Arbonne shampoo and conditioner.
Which one would you use? The True Hair or the True Smooth? I guess it is. I can't even think of like. So I always say the product name, not necessarily the type. But we've got the two types. Which one have you tried?
So I've loved all of them up to this point. Like I loved the purple ones that we used to have, but the newest ones are like, I noticed a huge difference in my hair, especially in the weight. They're so light.
I apologize about my dogs. Clearly there's a delivery happening right now. This is wonderful. Thank you to UPS.
While she's doing that, the other tip I would give is
Danny, I just gotta pause for a second.
Okay,
I'm just gonna pause. I'm sorry. Oh,
okay.
Yay, we're back. Sorry about that.
No worries. So want to share a couple of other tips. So one huge one for me was about brushing your hair. So I highly recommend brushing your hair before you get into the shower, or while you're in the shower is a really great way. I do it with my daughter. I do it while she's got the conditioner in. So it just helps with less trauma around that. Cool. Right, to get the tangles out. You can actually brush your hair after the shower if it's soaking wet right before you put the product in, but you definitely don't want to brush it in like during the drying process. Like it needs to be wet when you do it, and then the product, and then you don't touch it.
And you probably don't brush your hair at all, really. Otherwise, a brush doesn't become a styling like a thing for you. You know, a tool. I guess it's. Yeah.
I basically never brush my hair. Sometimes I'll use a brush to tease a little bit for volume, or sometimes I use it if I'm putting my hair up just for a little bit of guidance, but normally I barely ever use a brush. So, and you can get really good ones that are good for curly hair. It's wider bristles, and they're usually silicone bristles or nylon bristles. So it's a lot softer on the hair. And then the other really good thing, and this is kind of like next level, but I started singing for my worship team at church, and I have to get up at 5:30 when I go and do this. And I'm trying to not disturb my kids. Like I can't be like rustling around in the bathroom trying to get all this stuff ready. So I took this satin robe that I had, and I was like, I'm going to try this. I'm going to put this around my pillow because I've heard about people having silk pillowcases or satin pillowcases. So I was like, I didn't have one. So I wrapped this satin robe that I had around my pillow. let me tell you, it was such a game changer. Like I literally woke up and my hair looked like it did the night before. So you can get really affordable satin pillowcases, or you can invest in a silk. Honestly, I think either one is good, but it just prevents the hair from getting disturbed all night and rubbing with that friction.
Interesting.
And it keeps it like smooth, and I don't know, it just helps like my hair honor that curl that it had the night before.
Well, and again, whatever makes it easier too on the other end. Do you know what I mean? It's if you take care of your hair more where you're sleeping and you wake up and you've got less to fix in a sense. Like that's
exactly
great.
Yeah.
Great
so it's just
love that.
And that's one thing we talked about earlier is like, I think some people think they look at my hair and they're like, oh, it must have taken you forever to do that, especially when I really, really do it. And one thing I really lacked before was the consistency. I was telling you that I used to do my hair curly and it was like, is it going to look good or is it not? Like I never knew because I didn't have like a clear system and I didn't understand my hair. And so now I know exactly if I want to make it look really good because we're having family pictures or something like that, I know exactly what to do. But it's easy. It's so easy. It takes me less than 5 minutes to do my hair. I get out of the shower. That's what I'm doing it from, like when I'm washing it from scratch. But I get out of the shower, I put the product in, I'll clip it a little bit so that it dries with volume, and then I let it dry. And when I'm redoing my hair, I'm either getting up and I'll kind of refresh it with a little bit of water and product, or sometimes I don't have to do very much at all. So it's just like, it's way easier, and you will end up washing it less as well. Usually it's 1 to 2 days, once or twice a week that you wash curly hair. And then you can do a co-wash in between, which is like washing it with conditioner.
Not actually washing, right?
Yeah. You're just kind of getting the product out and getting whatever. And just, that's a really good refresh. So it just helps keep that moisture in your hair as much as possible. Cool. But then you wanted to talk really quickly about the hairdresser, right?
Yeah. I think it's really interesting because I didn't realize there's such a difference. But yeah, tell us a little bit about your experience of going to a hairdresser and what's different between a regular hairdresser, because and
everything.
No, I like that's what like you need to tell people, because like they have no idea what they should even be looking for, right? Because some people say, oh yeah, I cut curly hair. Yes, sure you do. There's people that cut curly hair and there's people that should cut curly hair.
Yeah. So it's so funny. Like before, when we started talking about this, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll give a couple tips. And as we're talking, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like a lot of tips. But when you're getting a curly haircut, like this person has to have a special qualification for this. So they should have that. And if they just say I cut curly hair, they're probably not.
They just cut hair. That's what they do.
Yeah. So the girl that I see, there's something called the Diva Cut. So people are Diva Cut qualified, and that's where the curly girl method turned into Diva Curl, which is a whole product line around curly. But there's a thing called a Diva Cut, and there's other ways to get the qualification. But you can find out if they really know how to cut curly hair if you ask them how they cut it. And so the cutting curly hair is so different. You will go to the hairdresser like this, with your hair dry, washed and dried. You can have product in it. Mine sends me a message before every appointment. She's like, make sure you come washed, no clips in your hair, no blow drying, because you want your hair to be like, it's full on natural curl. How is your hair without being disturbed? You can have
it could be the most unruly, whatever. But if you don't, see the natural curl, then it would be challenging to know where to cut. For curl, in a sense, because I suspect curls are different in different places on your head. You know what I mean? Not everything is one set thing. So I would never have thought you'd go in with your hair done. That seems.
Yeah, I was showing Jen earlier, like I have a curl that's really stretched. It's not very curly. And so that's very different versus like these ones that are a little bit more corkscrewy at the front. And so she knows that she has to cut this one less or more. I can't.
She knows. She knows how to do it.
So, but the cool thing is, so you go in and it's dry, and she'll cut it so it fits what your each curl is and just the overall shape of your hair. So it makes it that much better for you to just let your hair dry curly and go. And it's not like, oh, I'm gonna wet your hair, brush it straight, and guess how the cut is gonna look. Like it doesn't actually make sense.
Well, if you think about, if I were to go into any of your curls, and I have a little fascination with hair. I played with hair a lot in my lifetime. Not everybody probably does that. But when you go into a curl, I can imagine you're pulling the hair straight and you just cut wherever,
Yeah.
you could be in the wrong part of a curl. You could actually make the ends look bizarre. And I can totally understand why that makes complete sense of honoring the curl in a sense, but I would never have thought that that was what you would do. So that's really fascinating. And again, you'll know if you're getting a haircut by somebody like that versus what we're typically used to.
Yeah, it's something that made a huge difference for my hair. And on top of like it just being a way better fit and like me coming out with a way better shape and making it so much easier, I have gotten so much education from this hairdresser. Each time I learn something new just from what she's doing, or I'll ask her questions, be like, oh, I forgot that this is what she does. And then I'll like, even things like really simple, like right after she cuts it, then she washes it. And then she does the product. So she always flips my hair over. And the first thing she does before anything is she pulls all my hair forward, and she's pulling the hair away from my scalp. Because what happens is if you don't do that, you get the curl that's like, and so she like pulls all of that away with the product. Actually, she does that before she puts the product in. So it's just like all these little things that I've learned just from going to her. And it's just, it's a much different experience. And they're usually pretty on par for costs with.
Right. I mean, so if you're going to a hairdresser, you're going to a hairdresser. So, but at the end of the day, right, it's like coming out with a better cut. Do you know what I mean? Like, and so it makes everything so much easier on the other end, which is just brilliant. I just think it's brilliant. So keep going. What's next? What should we cover now?
Like, I'd say those are the main things. The only other thing I would add is being patient. So if you decide to start on a curly girl journey, it will take time. Like I kind of accepted that for like a few months. I think it maybe was 6, maybe less than that, like 4 months. Like my hair wasn't going to look amazing. And part of it was that I didn't really, like I was learning, right? It was a process. So I was still learning how to do it. But I had gone from having my hair up to here, straightening it every single day, to going to curly. So like I had to give my hair room to breathe, but it is so worth it times 100 to have the ease that I have with it now. And it just feels really good to like honor what my hair actually is now.
Well, your life is easier. I think our life is easier. I think we're healthier. I think all these things, because like I talk about the same thing about honoring like the natural chemistry of your skin. When we use products on our skin that work with the natural chemistry, you're not fighting the tide on the other end with 19,000 makeup products or things to hide your skin because your skin's a wreck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you need less. Everything just seems to work easier. So same thing with hair. And I think the same thing, like you think you've got your hair for the rest of your life. Like this is something we do kind of ish every day. You know what I mean? Like something, not everybody's going out to work, but I mean, at the end of the day, I think most of us would like to feel good in our skin and good in our hair and, you know, and then if you got curly hair, 9 times out of 10, if you have children, you're probably going to have somebody with curly hair. Yeah. So this is a great thing to learn. And then you can pass it on, like those tips where you don't have to have the 30 years of frustration or you know, whatever. Like, oh man.
Just working, like, I love the idea of the stream and like flowing downstream versus upstream. So like going.
Thank you. My big thing, I talked to everybody and I did in January of 2021, my whole thing for January was be like water. Like practice the idea and expand your understanding of being like water. Life is not meant to be a struggle. We struggle against things because we don't honor how it should be. What we do is I've decided I want straight hair, even though my hair is a corkscrew curl. You know, you're like, well, okay, you're going to fight the tide a lot.
Yeah.
And it takes a heck of a lot more work to work against stuff.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. So
I'm going to give like a couple things. So
tools.
If you are going to, a couple tools. So if you are going to blow dry your hair, because it's going to happen that you will, is you definitely want a diffuser. There's so many different diffusers you can get. Touch your hair as little as possible. Like my husband had to diffuse my daughter's hair one day and I'm like, no. I had to stop. He's like,
I love you, but stop.
And he's like, and I'm like, no, stop touching it. And like, so I literally will set my hair and push it up and literally just that 2 minutes, don't touch it. And then you want to do like cool shots have it on a low or like doing cool shots a lot. So this is an awesome tool that I would recommend. I'm sure most people have it.
And most people buy a dryer or hair dryer and it comes with a diffuser. So it's, you know,
And there's some really cool ones out. Like Diva Curl has one that looks like a hand.
Yeah.
Like,
that it would just it gently, and then the air can go in through, which is great. Yep.
Yeah. A spray bottle is also another really good tool. You can actually make your own solutions where you can put, like, I have one where I put our curl cream. So it's like half curl cream, half water in a small.
So 50-50?
Yeah. And it's a great refresher. So like if you wake up and you need to like refresh your curls, you can spray
Danny, that is dandy. Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, that is a great tip. Never even thought of that one. But, and I know different people put conditioner maybe into the water or something like that, but the conditioner is not necessarily meant to stay in the hair. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So over time it can wait. Whereas the curl cream is meant to. That's brilliant.
That's brilliant. It's probably not so much 50-50. It's probably like a third or even a quarter of the curl cream. And then the rest you'll
kind of get used to it because you only do it once and you'll realize, a little much. Add more water, right?
Yeah. The curl cream you could the daily conditioner you could also do it with. I love this for like the next day, or I just use this because I was telling Jen, this is the daily conditioner, leave-in conditioner.
Yes, the daily leave-in,
and we can post this stuff below if you guys are looking for it. But I just was out taking my kids to the bus and like my hair was like wind blown, so it's just like great to like smooth stuff out. We have like a anti-frizz oil as well. I don't use this as often. I actually prefer the leave-in conditioner. But it is great if you use it, like it depends on your hair, but for me, it will get like, I don't want it to be too, like sometimes it looks like there's too much moisture. But if you do,
I think it depends on the hair, and that's why there's so many different products, is to sort of find the right one that's right for you.
So if you find your hair is a little bit more dry, this is amazing. I'm just using it on the bottom half, never at the roots.
Cool.
And then getting like, if you're going to put your hair up, getting something that's soft. So like what is this material? Why can't I think of what it's called?
Is it like a velvet?
It's like a velvet. So velvet isn't as good as like a silk or satin, but the thing about a silk or satin is that it's slippery. So I like these ones if I want it to hold well. But anything that you can have that satin, like right now I'm trying to find a satin lined hat for winter, because every time I put my hat on, it makes my hair frizzier. So any like hair products that you can have that softness to it will prevent the frizz.
I'm so excited. I'm gonna play with my curl too.
It's something really worth experimenting in. The one thing I will say about having a curly cut is that you have to kind of say goodbye to straight hair for a little bit. But I think once you do, actually I straightened my hair recently the first time since I started cutting it with like a curly cut, and it looked completely fine. Like she said, it might look uneven, but
it could look a little choppy because curls are going to be in different places for it to sit. But
I found mine look fine. So, but it's just like, you kind of have to decide to commit to that. But I really don't think anyone would regret it, because it's really hard to explain, but it's definitely worth experimenting with just to honor what your natural hair is.
Well, and when you think about this is self-care, right? Us taking care of ourselves the way we are meant to be. And fighting the tide, we might do it for a little while. You know what I mean? We always get tired when you're fighting the tide, right? So sometimes just honoring what is, life can just be so much easier. And then you can focus on the things that you're passionate about, right? Like our families and other relationships and whatever it is you want to be putting your time to, rather than in a bathroom looking in a mirror.
And if you
up.
I know. If you have kids with curly hair or wavy hair, please, I pray, I ask you to consider this for them, because my parents used to brush out my hair and it was more wavy when I was younger, and it was literally like a puff ball. And I was like so self-conscious about it. And it didn't have to be that way. And so my daughter, like, it's so amazing to know what.
Because your daughter looks like a mini you. She's absolutely stunning, and her curls are stunning.
Her curls are amazing. I'm like jealous of her curls, but it's so easy. It's wet. We put a little bit of product in, and that's why I love the Arbonne curl cream, because it's safe. I feel 100% comfortable putting. My daughter's 4, so I feel 100% comfortable putting the curl cream in her hair. I just put a little bit, and then I leave her, and then she's good. And like she goes on her merry way. She just lets it dry. So let's do a recap. So just have like the main tips. So first tip that I shared was using a t-shirt or a microfiber towel to dry your hair. Applying products to soaking wet hair is like a really...
Handle it little bit, like
yes,
very little
when
handling.
it's wet. And when it's wet, you can handle it. You got the products in your hair. You definitely want to scrunch it. You want to move it through and then leaving it to dry. So leaving it to dry naturally as much as possible is the preferred method. But if you do need to use a blow dryer, use a diffuser and use it on the cool setting. What else did we share? Products.
We talked about the hairdresser cutting dry, like actually that part.
Yeah. Going to a curly hair specialist for haircut. And another tip that we shared was brushing your hair before going in the shower or while it's soaking wet, and then applying the product afterward.
Yeah. Sort of refreshing your hair in between.
Yes.
Right. Not washing your hair every day.
Yeah. So washing once to twice a week, and you can go online. We'll post some resources here. And literally you can see what your hair type is and they'll tell you exactly how many times you should wash your hair. Obviously you play with it.
I was just going to say, and there is a bit of just understand that sometimes things get worse before it gets better in a sense. Like it feels wrong if you're used to washing your hair every day to wait. Like, you know, but it takes a little time for your hair to get over the greasy. So maybe for the first couple of days, if you're not going to wash it, maybe you're putting it up in a bun or you're doing something with it. Right. To get yourself over the hump, to allow your hair to rest and get back to its natural state. So you're not feeling like your hair's greasy in between. When you actually get there, you'll know why you did the process, but it can be a bit, I don't know,
a good point.
Challenging.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's definitely a transition process. So just being aware of that. Using good product, like you don't want anything with alcohol in it. You don't want anything with silicones in it. And then obviously just like the main toxins like sodium lauryl sulfate you want to avoid. And then if you want to like level up, looking at like the silk pillowcase or the satin pillowcase, will just like, it makes your life way easier. You can actually get bonnets too.
I was just going to say, because they have that for, you know, ethnic hair, right? And they will wear silk or whatever. And it's like, now I have more of an understanding of why. Do you know what I mean? Like, again, I've never really honored the curl except through COVID. I did for a while. My hair was just curly. It was just easier. And, you know, now, and I went through the transition of not washing my hair every day. And like, it's pretty cool how, man, all of a sudden your hair is a lot less maintenance. Now, granted, today's not a great reflection of anything that my hair could do. But anyway, at some point, you guys are going to see me honoring the curl a little more. So
I can't wait to see that. I think that was all.
I think that's pretty much what we covered, and we definitely will be sharing some tools and resources. So if you guys have questions about other things, and if you have other questions, so maybe we haven't covered, type into the comments kind of thing, and we'll get those answers to you. So.
Oh, sorry. I wanted to add one thing. So I use a hairspray because we don't have a hairspray with Arbonne right now. Right. So I use the Diva Curl hairspray, which is great. I think Les has a hairspray as well, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, if you find something, just be really mindful of the ingredients. I always recommend, especially in a hairspray. Yeah. So.
Cool. Thank you so much, Danny. Honestly, this has been an education for me. I can only imagine it's an education for a lot of other people. And you do have some magnificent curls. If you guys, I see Danny every day. And I see her on Facebook, and, you know, you can see like the proof is in the pudding kind of thing, right? I mean, your hair is beautiful and your daughter's hair is beautiful. And I just know there'll be a lot of people that will gain some incredible value from this. So thank you so much, Danny.
Good. It's my pleasure.
All right, we'll sign off. Thanks everybody for joining us. And again, if you have questions or anything, be sure to post in the comments. Bye.
Bye.